I'm 78 years old, and what I'm about to tell you might make you uncomfortable, but I feel like I have to say it, because most people realize the biggest mistake of their lives only when it is already too late. For many years, I believed everything was going exactly the way it was supposed to. I had a stable job, a predictable routine, and people respected me. From the outside, I looked like a successful man, and I believed I was one. I thought I understood how life worked. First you work hard, then you earn enough, and eventually you slow down and enjoy it. I believed that if I did everything in the right order, happiness would come naturally at the end. When I was 61, I came home late one evening, like I had done thousands of times before. I was tired, but I considered that normal. I had been living that way for years. The lights were on when I walked into the house, but it felt strangely quiet. When I stepped into the living room, I saw my daughter asleep on the couch. The television was still on, but the sound was turned down low. I gently covered her with a blanket, and something about that moment made me stop and just look at her for a while. She wasn't a little child anymore. She was almost an adult. As I stood there, I realized something that shook me more than I expected. I hadn't noticed her growing up. It felt as if the years had passed in a single moment. In my mind, she was still the little girl who used to run to the door when I came home. But now she felt almost like a stranger, not because she had changed, but because I had missed so much of her life. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about how many evenings I had missed because of work, how many weekends I had spent in the office, how many times I had said we'll do it another day. I kept repeating the same promise to myself. Not now, but later. Later we'll have more time. Later things will slow down. Later I'll make up for it. But nobody ever guarantees you that later will come. A few months after that, I went to see a doctor because I was feeling constantly exhausted. After several tests, the doctor told me that I had a serious heart condition. He tried not to sound too alarming, but I could tell from his voice that it was more serious than I wanted to believe. He told me I needed to change my lifestyle. Less stress, less work, more rest. On the drive home, I pulled into my driveway and sat in the car for a long time without turning off the engine. For the first time in my life, I seriously thought about the possibility that I might die sooner than I expected. When you're young, death feels like something that happens to other people. But one day you realize it applies to you too. Sitting there in the car, I asked myself a simple question. If I died in a few years, what would I leave behind? A house, some savings, and a career that nobody would remember for very long. The realization that hit me in that moment was difficult to accept. I hadn't really been living. I had only been preparing to live. I was always getting ready for a future life that never actually arrived. The biggest lie people tell themselves is that they have time. Young people say the same things over and over. When I make more money, then I'll relax. When I get promoted, then I'll slow down. When the kids grow up, then I'll focus on myself. When I retire, then I'll live the life I want. I told myself the same story for 30 years, but I can tell you now that the right moment never arrives on its own. Goals keep changing. You always want something more, something better. There's always another step to take, and one day you look back and realize your life has already passed. When I think about the past, my regrets are not about failures. I don't think about the business decisions that didn't work out. I don't think about the money I lost. None of those things matter anymore. The things that stay with me are the things I never did, and the phone calls I didn't make, the trips I kept postponing, the projects I never started, the evenings I chose work instead of being with my family. My father died when I was 44 years old. I always believed we would have more time to talk. I thought we would fix our relationship when life became less busy. One morning the phone rang, and within a few hours he was gone. After that day, the thoughts that stayed with me were not about big moments. They were about the ordinary days when I didn't call him, the times I told myself I would visit another weekend. When someone dies, the possibility of talking to them disappears forever. You only fully understand that after it's too late. After I learned about my heart condition, I began changing parts of my life. I stepped back from work. I realized that many of the things I once considered important weren't really important at all. I had been living to meet other people's expectations. I had been trying to look successful in the eyes of others. But I learned far too late that this doesn't make a person happy. Over the past 20 years, I have learned something very simple. The most valuable thing in life is time. You can lose money and earn it back, but lost time never returns. Most people spend the majority of their lives chasing things that don't really matter, and only realize it when the time left is short. Now I'm 78 years old, and every morning when I wake up I am aware that my time is limited. All of our time is limited, but young people rarely feel that. They live as if life will go on forever. Then one day you look in the mirror and see how many years have passed, and you don't understand how it happened so quickly. There is one question I want you to ask yourself. If your life ended tomorrow, would you be satisfied with how you lived? I'm not asking whether people would be impressed by you. I'm not asking whether you achieved enough. I'm asking whether you truly lived. If the answer is no, then what are you waiting for? What is so important that you're willing to postpone your life for it? There will never be a perfect moment. Life will always be busy. There will always be problems to solve. There will always be reasons to wait. If I could speak to my 30-year-old self, I would tell him this. Don't sacrifice your life just to stay busy. Don't waste your time trying to impress people who won't matter in the end. Don't wait for the right moment to be happy. Call the people you love more often. Do the things you keep postponing. Try the things that scare you. Because the perfect time never exists. I'm in the final chapter of my life now. Maybe I have 10 years left. Maybe less. I don't know. But I do know that once you understand your time is limited, you begin to see life differently. Small moments start to matter more. Simple things become enough. Right now you have a choice. You can continue living the same way and one day wonder where the years went. Or you can start living differently today, because the day you're waiting for will never arrive on its own. One day you'll be my age, and when that day comes you won't want to say that you understood all of this too late. The biggest mistake people make is waiting for their life to begin. The truth is it already has.